Friends, I want you to see one of the shades of gray starts off right here. It's betrayal. Betrayal. Note Judas. We meet Judas. He's first on our continuum. And what we see here is betrayal. And the key to understanding betrayal is to recognize that it tends to involve treachery and trust. I want you to think about just how deep a shade of gray is Judas, the one who would betray him. I want you to think, too, about the reality of what comes from those that are trusted who prove to be treacherous. You've got authorities here. You have authorities from the Roman guard, the government, the governmental, the Roman authorities, and you have those of the Pharisees and the chief priest. So you have Roman and religion authorities represented here. These authorities who are demonstrating a very real sin. One is unlawful, right? The Roman guards are unlawful. The religious officials, they're hypocritical. So we've got betrayal, unlawful, we've got hypocritical, and we're just getting started. Also note this when you look at the authorities. Sinning, treacherous betrayers of God tend to band together. Have you ever noticed that? They don't necessarily have to get along and love each other. They just like hating together. Verse 4, so Jesus knowing all. Jesus knowing all. Here we see the sovereign shepherd. Judas, we saw and we know from back in the upper room, he betrayed Jesus, and the scripture said then Satan entered him. We've already dealt with satanic sin. And note the damage that one can do, right? From here on out, Judas is basically a pawn. But that pawn was used by the enemy to do some of the most heinous work that history has ever known. Note the potential damage of one filled with satanic sin. Friends, see the sovereign shepherd here. In the midst of the betrayal, the unlawful, the hypocritical, the good shepherd shows up. And he says clearly, I am, 3 times. And in the presence of God's power, in the midst of Jesus the Christ who is, they fell back. There's no explanation other than to be in the presence of the one and only God. That they literally fell back. Now, Jesus doesn't trounce them because he's going to faithfully obey the will of the Father. He's on the mission that glorifies God in its completion. And so what does he do? He doesn't kill them. He doesn't strike them down. He simply clarifies, you're looking for me, I know. That means you let these go. That's the shepherd taking care of his sheep. It's amazing in John 6:15, if you remember, when the people were trying to force Jesus to take a crown, be our king, he pushed them away. Here, when the enemy is coming to force him to a cross, he steps up and proactively engages. He initiates the dialogue. Friends, if we're not stepping up like Jesus, we're falling down.